If your autistic child freezes, panics, or completely disconnects when multiplication starts, you are not alone. We used to think multiplication was simply too difficult for our son. But eventually we realized the problem was not intelligence. The problem was how multiplication was being taught. When multiplication first appeared in school, our son became overwhelmed almost immediately. Timed exercises, memorizing tables, and abstract explanations caused frustration and anxiety. We learned that many autistic children struggle with multiplication because the concept is often introduced too fast, too verbally, and without enough visual structure or real-world meaning. Before we continue, subscribe to our channel at youtube.com/@neuroparenting-b4p. We share real experiences, practical strategies, and honest conversations about raising a neurodivergent child, so parents feel less alone and more supported. One thing we discovered very quickly is that multiplication can feel extremely abstract for autistic children. Adults often explain multiplication as groups of numbers, but many neurodivergent children need to physically see and experience those groups before the concept makes sense. Memorization without understanding can also create stress. Our son could repeat multiplication facts one day and completely forget them the next because the numbers had no meaningful connection for him. Another challenge is working memory. Multiplication often requires remembering several steps at the same time. Some autistic children also struggle with processing verbal instructions quickly. If a child is already dealing with sensory overload, anxiety, or pressure to answer correctly, learning becomes even harder. What helped our son most was changing our expectations and slowing the process down. We stopped focusing on speed and memorization. Instead, we focused on helping him understand what multiplication actually means. We discovered that repetition works best when it feels predictable, visual, and connected to something the child already enjoys. One methodology that helped us was using visual grouping. Instead of saying 3 times 4 equals 12, we physically created 3 groups with 4 objects inside each group. We used toy animals, blocks, snack crackers, and anything else our son liked. When he could touch and move the objects himself, multiplication became much less confusing. Another method was reducing verbal overload. Long explanations often caused our son to shut down. So we used very short and consistent phrases every time. We would say 3 groups of 4, then we pointed to each group slowly. Keeping the language simple helped him focus on the visual pattern instead of trying to process too many words. We also learned that autistic children often benefit from pattern recognition. Multiplication is full of patterns, and once our son started noticing them, his confidence improved. We used color coding, repeated visual layouts, and rhythm. For example, skip counting by 2s or 5s while clapping or stepping helped him understand multiplication through movement and sound. Now, let us share 3 practical examples that worked for us and may help your family too. The first example is something that worked well in a school environment. One teacher used multiplication arrays with colored counters on laminated cards. Instead of writing multiplication problems only as numbers, she created visual rectangles made of counters. For example, for 3 times 4, our son would place 3 rows with 4 counters in each row. The teacher always used the same structure. First, she showed the groups visually. Then, she counted them together with him. Only after that did she write the multiplication equation underneath. This sequence was important because it connected the visual experience to the mathematical symbols. The teacher also removed unnecessary pressure. There were no timed drills and no public correction in front of classmates. She allowed our son to use manipulatives, even when other children had moved on to mental math. That accommodation made a huge difference. because he still needed physical support to process the concept. Another helpful strategy at school was using special interests. Our son loved trains, so the teacher created train-themed multiplication cards. Instead of abstract numbers, the problems involved train wagons and passengers. Interest-based learning increased his motivation and attention immediately. The second example is how we teach multiplication at home. We completely stopped using traditional worksheets in the beginning because they triggered frustration very quickly. Instead, we turned multiplication into a hands-on game using building blocks. We would sit on the floor together and build towers. For example, we would make 4 towers with 3 blocks each. Then, we counted all the blocks together. Over time, our son started recognizing the repeated pattern without needing to count every single block one by one. One evening, we noticed something important. When we asked directly, "What is 4 times 3?" he became anxious. But when we said, "Can you help us build 4 towers with 3 blocks each?" he stayed calm and engaged. The wording changed the emotional response completely. We also used movement at home because movement helped regulate his nervous system. Sometimes we placed number cards around the room. Then, we asked him to jump to the correct answer after building visual groups with toys. Physical movement helped maintain focus much longer than sitting still at a table. Another strategy that worked surprisingly well was music and rhythm. We created little multiplication chants while clapping hands or tapping the table. The predictable rhythm helped our son remember patterns more easily than silent memorization. The third example is how we integrated multiplication into daily life. This became one of the most effective teaching tools because it removed the feeling of doing school. Instead of formal lessons, multiplication became part of normal activities. At breakfast, we counted groups of blueberries on pancakes. We might say, "There are 3 pancakes with 4 blueberries on each pancake. How many blueberries do we have altogether?" During grocery shopping, we counted yogurt packs in groups. During laundry time, we grouped socks into pairs and counted them together. Cooking was especially helpful because multiplication naturally appears in recipes. If we needed 2 chocolate chips on each cookie and we had 5 cookies, we counted the total together. Our son enjoyed the practical purpose behind the numbers. We also used multiplication during outdoor walks. If we saw rows of parked cars or flower pots, we turned them into visual multiplication examples. Real-world learning reduced anxiety because the focus was on observation and play instead of performance. Something we learned over time is that emotional safety matters more than perfect academic progress. If our son felt pressured, overwhelmed, or afraid of mistakes, learning stopped immediately. But when he felt calm and supported, his understanding grew steadily. It is also important to remember that autistic children may need far more repetition than neurotypical children before a concept feels secure. That repetition is not failure. Their brains often need more consistent experiences before information becomes automatic. We also had to stop comparing our child to typical school timelines. Some children memorize multiplication tables quickly. Others need months or years of concrete practice before abstract numbers make sense. Progress does not always look linear, especially for neurodivergent learners. One of the biggest breakthroughs for our family happened when we realized multiplication is not just about numbers, it is about communication, processing style, emotional regulation, sensory comfort, and trust. Once we adjusted our teaching style to fit our son's needs instead of forcing him into a standard method, learning became much less stressful for everyone. If you are struggling to teach multiplication to your autistic child right now, please know that many parents understand exactly how exhausting and emotional this process can feel. You are not alone, and your child is not broken. Sometimes the right approach changes everything. Subscribe to our channel at youtube.com/@neuroparenting-B4P. We share practical advice, honest parenting experiences, and real-life strategies for raising neurodivergent children with empathy, patience, and understanding.